Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN in L.A. And, of course, nationwide over the airways of ESPN Radio. Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Got a jammed-packed show coming your way today. Aaron Rodgers' nice little feature was written about him. We'll be talking about some of the things that he had to say. Apparently, he's come to the defense of Colin Kaepernick, believe it or not. And should other superstars step up and do the same? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Ezekiel Elliott. We're monitoring his appeals hearing. According to our very own Adam Schefter, there's a good chance, there's at least a chance that suspension may be reduced from 6 games. I want to know whether or not some of you think he deserves a reduction from a 6-game suspension or not. If so, why? If not, why? Interested in getting your take on that. Of course, I'll get into the trade that was, then wasn't, but now is officially. That is Kyrie Irving going to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, European player Zizic. It's one or the other. And, of course, a first-round pick, unprotected, coming from the Brooklyn Nets, which the Boston Celtics own. Not to mention a 2020 second-round pick that the Boston Celtics just added into the equation to appease the Cleveland Cavaliers since Isaiah Thomas's hip injury wasn't fully explained to the Cleveland Cavaliers to their liking. So we'll talk about that, and I got something to say about LeBron James as it pertains to that particular trade and what position it puts him in more so than anything else. 866-729-ESPN, again, is the number to call up. That's 866-729-3776. But the first order of business is that the Pittsburgh Steelers have a new cornerback. And his name is Joe Hayden from the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, this dude is somebody that was universally respected when he was on his game. He was somebody that was respected and liked, had a lot of loyalty to the Cleveland Browns organization. Clearly, he was a guy that they respected and liked and felt very highly about. But in the end, what it comes down to is that the Cleveland Browns are a long way away from being relevant. And as a result, why keep somebody around that you've got to give in excess of $23 million to over the next 2 years? We all know that Joe Hayden can ball. We all know that he can play, and that if he played at a high level, obviously that's a plus for anybody. But nobody, or I shouldn't say nobody, but very few teams needed somebody in their secondary more so than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, when you look at Cockrell and the problems that he had last year, everybody likes Artie Burns. And we understand that he's got potential. Sean Davis, Mike Mitchell, we don't know what these boys are going to do. But you needed something close to a shutdown corner. And if you couldn't be a shutdown corner, then it couldn't be something close. I mean, just be respectable, for crying out loud. The Steelers have desperately needed that for quite some time, something I've repeatedly said to Coach Mike Tomlin over the years, and I'm going to be the first to admit it. I admitted it on First Take this morning on ESPN, and I'll admit it to my listeners here over radio. As a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan, even though I'm a native New Yorker, and I'm a transplant to L.A., back and forth all the time because I love both cities, I am a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I love my Steelers, and I have never recovered. I repeat, never recovered from Ike Taylor giving up that touchdown to Demaryius Thomas off a pass from Tim Tebow. I just haven't recovered from it. I still haven't recovered from it, okay? I'll be the first to admit it. I'm not the same man. I haven't been the same man in football when it comes to that because I've never recovered. And I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm looking at their offense. You got Big Ben Roethlisberger. I expect Le'Veon Bell to be there for week 1. That offensive line is no joke. Antonio Brown is one of the top 3 receivers in the game. And so to me, in terms of the Steelers and their high-octane offense, it's going to be your fine no matter what because they got Antonio Brown with Sammy Coates. You got a tight end. You got Le'Veon Bell. You got an offensive line. You got Big Ben Roethlisberger. But my Lord, if Martavis Bryant can stay off the then guess what? Sky's the limit. Sky is the limit. But if he can't, I don't know what I'm going to say. Don't know what I'm going to do. Pittsburgh Steelers will make it back to the AFC Championship game in all probability, because I don't see Oakland, Kansas City, or anybody else in the AFC outside of New England beating them. What it will come down to me is that they'll lose to New England. They'll get obliterated in the AFC Championship game all over again. And by the way, to be back in Foxborough again, because I don't anticipate that the Steelers will have a better record during the regular season than New England. But I say all of that to say, I love the fact that Joe Hayden is there. Here's what I don't love. I don't love the fact that Aaron Donald still hasn't been taken care of by the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, the inept franchise that this franchise has been, staining cities along the way, first St. Louis and now L.A. The audacity, the unmitigated gall for them to play hardball and not take care of this guy. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I don't know how many times I got to go on this damn tirade. Take care of Aaron Donald if you are the Los Angeles Rams. The nerve of you to do otherwise. Who the hell do you think you are? You took care of Tavon Austin. You overpaid him, even though I like him. But you can't take care of a dude who is universally recognized as a top 10 player in the NFL, who wants to be there, who is completely justified in not stepping on the field and jeopardizing his own health before he gets a hefty contract, and you can't find a way to take care of him? Shame on you. Absolute positive shame. I mean, just the nerve. I'd expect something like this if Jeff Fisher was still there. But due to the fact that you came to your senses and got rid of him, one would believe that you were pointing sensibly in the right direction. And now we've learned otherwise. It's just a damn embarrassment. Plain and simple. 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN. By the way, staying in Los Angeles, the NBA announced today that it has fined the Los Angeles Lakers $500,000 for violating the league's anti-tampering rule. This news just came in a minute ago, y'all. This action followed an independent investigation by the law firm Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz. The conduct at issue involved communications by Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka with the agent representing Paul George that constituted a prohibited expression of interest in the player while he was under contract. The penalty reflected a previous warning issued by the NBA to the Lakers regarding tampering, following comments made by Lakers president of basketball operations, Earvin Magic Johnson, about Paul George during an April 20th national television appearance. If I remember, that was on Jimmy Kimmel. The investigation did not reveal evidence of an agreement or understanding that the Lakers would sign or acquire Mr. George. The NBA's anti-tampering rule prohibits teams from interfering with other teams' contractual relationships with NBA players, including by publicly expressing interest in a player who is currently under contract with another team or informing the agent of another team's player of interest by one's own team in the NBA. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to overreact because it's a $500,000 fine. The Lakers can afford it. There was no confiscation of draft picks or anything like that. Fine. But I will say this. It's completely damn bogus still and all. This is Earvin Magic Johnson we're talking about here. He's talking about the talent of a player. He's supposed to get on national television with Jimmy Kimmel and act like a talent like Paul George doesn't interest him when you've got a team bereft of talent like the Los Angeles Lakers? I mean, sitting up there and be like, yeah, shake your head, how you doing? And the wink, wink, you know, really? Because that's basically what you find them about. That's basically what you find them for. Agents communicate with general managers all the time. So essentially what you're doing, league, what you're doing with this independent law firm is that you're finding the Lakers because Paul George told the Indiana Pacers, look, I'm leaving. I want to go to the Lakers, so it might behoove you to trade me now so you could get some compensation. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, next time what the player should do is lie his behind off, don't tell the organization a damn thing, and be done with it. That's basically what it was. Paul George should have said, I want to get traded. Well, Paul George, why do you want to get traded? Well, I really rather not say. That's what he should have done. But because he was honest with the Indiana Pacers about wanting to be a Los Angeles Laker, you trade him and then dime out the Lakers. Bravo, Indiana Pacers. Bravo. You have now given NBA players an excuse to either lie to your damn face or just plead the fifth. I hope you're happy with yourselves. I hope you're happy.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
A couple of things. Kevin Colbert, general manager for the Pittsburgh Steelers, received a 2-year extension, extending his contract through 2020, same amount of time. Mike Tomlin is under contract with the team as well as head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's one thing. The other thing is LaMelo Ball, brother of Lonzo Ball for the Los Angeles Lakers, son of LaVar Ball, Mr. Eccentric himself. Apparently, he's coming out with some shoe, courtesy of the Big Baller brand, of course. We all know about that. Here's what you may not have known. It may violate NCAA regulations and ultimately force him to be ineligible. Lord have mercy. I root for this family, but I just don't know sometimes. I just don't know. To the phones we go at 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Okay, let's go to Anthony in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Anthony? How you doing, man?
Stephen A., how you doing, sir?
I'm right. Talk to me, bro.
Hey, I'm so happy about that Joe Hayden pickup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really feel that he might be he'll be the person that can step in like Rod Woodson did.
Well, we gotta hope that he can. We gotta hope. He's had some concussion issues. I believe an ankle injury, if I remember correctly. We've got to keep our eyes on him and make sure. Listen, the Steelers, in our perfect world, we'd have a shutdown corner. I don't know if he's considered that anymore. And because we have questions as to whether or not he's considered that any longer, we got to wonder. But I know him personally. He's a great dude. I always see him at the Cavaliers game. Got a lot of love for him. He and I spoke this morning. I'm rooting for him, not just because I love him as a person, but also because he's on my favorite team. But the expectations, I got to wait and see how his health is, because let's face reality. Even though Cleveland is rebuilding and moving in a different direction, we've got to wonder, coming off a 1-15 season, feeling some pressure to at least win a few more games this year, why they let him go. Clearly, a lot of it had to do with the money he was owed, but still, they still were willing to let him go. So we got to we got to monitor how he looks.
And I do understand the injury side of everything because it is a part of the game. I also wanted to ask you, what do you think about T.J. Ward possibly coming over to us?
Wouldn't bother me. I like T.J. He's a hitman. You know what I'm saying? Listen, Steelers need a makeover defensively. Listen, you don't have to be the steel curtain, but at least show us that you're aspiring to be it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in you just scoring points and you being the new millennials version of the 80s San Diego Chargers with Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow and Charlie Joyner and Chuck Muncie and those boys when they will put up points in bunches but couldn't stop me or you. I want a defense in Pittsburgh. I want a defense and I'm not talking about bending all the time but not necessarily breaking most of the time. I want a defense that's intimidating. I want a defense that smash mouth that gets up in you. That's what I want to see with the Steelers, man.
And that's normally us. That's normally
No,
us.
you can't say that. Hasn't been that way for a long time.
It hasn't, but we're definitely just trying to get back there with the T.J. Watt, with the Shazier, as long as he can stay healthy.
Shazier, really? No. I'm not sold. But I appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Let's go to Spanky in California. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Spank?
What's up, Stephen A., man? Hey, I got a quick question for you. Now, the way I look at it with this Cleveland and Boston trade, I feel like this trade for Kyrie Irving was a big deal for Boston. But at the same time, I feel like in trading for Kyrie Irving, I know you get the same player with Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving, but with not Avery Bradley. What's the guy's name that's in the trade?
Joe Hayden? No, I'm sorry. You're talking basketball. Who are you talking about? Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder. I'm sorry. I apologize.
With Jay Crowder being involved in the trade, and you also losing Avery Bradley, and along with Kelly Olynyk, what does that really mean for Boston going forward? Because I feel like they really gutted their team when they traded away Avery Bradley, when they let Olynyk walk. I feel like and then you losing Jay Crowder.
All right, here's what it means. They've sacrificed defense for offense because Bradley is a great on-ball defender and can put up some points, but he ain't the offensive juggernaut that is Kyrie Irving. Okay? Gordon Hayward can ball offensively, but he doesn't bring you defensively what Bradley and along with Kelly Olynyk brought you. So the combination of those two things tells you that Boston got a bit softer defensively, but a bit more formidable offensively.
Okay, so this is why I disagree with Max about Boston winning this trade, because
first of all, you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake by even listening to Max when it comes to basketball. Come on now. Max needed to surrender his card today when we were talking about supplementary stars on a team, and he mentioned Pau Gasol. I mean, stop.
Yeah, he kind of lost me with that one. But second question, with the addition of Jay Crowder, Derrick Rose, Isaiah Thomas, if Isaiah Thomas, along with the rest of the crew, can come back with LeBron, if Isaiah Thomas is between 85 and 95% with Derrick Rose there, do you see them at least challenging Golden State this season?
Absolutely. And that's exactly where I was going. Spanky, let me keep you on the line when I say this to you. There are no excuses. LeBron James, you got two starting fives. You lost Kyrie. And you replaced him with essentially four starters: Derrick Rose, Jeff Green, Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas. If Isaiah Thomas is healthy, how much of a drop-off offensively is it from Isaiah Thomas, who just finished averaging 28.9 points per game, without LeBron James as his teammate?
Now,
to Kyrie Irving. So I look at it and I'm going like this. If you've got those requisite weapons as supplementary parts, and you are the best player in the world, doesn't it come down to whether or not you can deal with Kevin Durant?
Correct. Which Durant brought the game to LeBron James this past finals. I haven't seen that killer instinct in Kevin Durant his whole career. Haven't seen it.
Well, listen, all I'm trying to say to you is this. Here's the way I'm looking at it. LeBron's the best in the world. You got a supporting cast that's capable of helping to deliver the goods. It comes down to you. What you gonna do against Kevin Durant? Because before Kevin Durant was there, you beat the Golden State Warriors, even though it was with some stimulus package handed from Adam Silver to the Cavaliers, courtesy of suspending Draymond Green for that Game 5. But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is you won a championship. You erased a 52-year-old curse for Cleveland and all the sports teams. All right? You were the champions walking into this past June's NBA Finals. And you still weren't confident because they had Kevin Durant. What you going to do?
So
that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it. Plain and simple.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. You've known him as the voice of the South, SEC. I know him as an extraordinary football analyst and commentator, hosts his own radio show. obviously knows a lot about the SEC, but I'm here to tell you he knows a lot about football, period. College and pros. I'm talking about the great one himself, the one and only Paul Finebaum. He's on the line with yours truly right now. What's going on, sir? Good afternoon. How are you? Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for saying that, Stephen. I really appreciate it. And what a blast it was to be on with you this week, although it killed me to have to agree with that other guy. I can't remember his name.
Well, listen. A dead clock is right twice a day. I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure you won't be agreeing with Max too much as the season progresses.
I saw you punish him so badly the other day that I just felt like he needed a cane, a helping hand, a walker, anything.
That's probably true.
On his feet.
That's probably true, and you probably agree with him. But guess what? You might not have been able to help yourself because by the time he finishes talking, he's taking about 7 different sides. So you got to pick one of them, But that's neither here nor there, Paul. Let's get right to it. I mean, as we get set for this college football season, it begins tonight. Is Ohio State worthy of being the number 2 ranked team in the nation?
I think they are. Now, listen, Stephen, unlike pro football where you actually have a sample to work with, not that watching preseason games are worthwhile, but, I mean, you're taking a flyer, and I like the hire of Kevin Wilson. To me, Ohio State's offense has been in outer space since Tom Herman left in 2014. So maybe he can resurrect J.T. Barrett's career. I mean, the guy's been a Heisman Trophy candidate every year, and he barely finished last season. But I think it's really the defense. And besides, they play Oklahoma next week at home. That's not that big of a deal. They do go to Michigan. They have Penn State at home. Schedules really matter in college football, and I think because of that. Frankly, I think I like their shot at getting to the playoffs, maybe a fraction even ahead of Alabama.
You brought that up. Are you, and I'm talking about the NFL level right now, are you an advocate or an adversary of preseason football?
Well, I mean, I understand the necessity of it for the NFL, but Stephen, you remember they used to play 6 preseason games. Back in the day, and now they play 4, and they probably should play 2 because I mean, is anyone in America outside of the family members of the guys on the cut line watching the games tonight? I mean, are you kidding me? Do you even know they're going on? So I don't like them, and frankly, I think college football ought to have something, maybe scrimmages controlled or whatever. But it's ridiculous to have the biggest game of the year in college football Saturday night. And quite frankly, nobody knows what either team is all about.
Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Biggest game of the weekend is going to be Alabama, Florida State. How legit of a contest is that? And I guess by asking that question, how legit is Florida, even with all these damn suspensions handed down by its coach? Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Florida State. I apologize. That's Florida, not Florida State. Florida State is playing Alabama. But I want to know what you thought about Florida State first against Alabama and how legit Florida State is this year.
I think they're very good. I just don't think they're quite in Alabama's league. And by the way, that's not really saying very much because Alabama's in a league of its own, Stephen A. I think it's a good game. I think Alabama will probably win by more than the number, which is 7. This is not going to be 46 points, if you remember last year. Alabama and Southern Cal, and by the way, they turned out to be Alabama's toughest game other than Clemson all year in terms of quality of opponent. So, but, I hear colleagues all week on these two teams mirror each other. They're not, nobody mirrors Alabama. I mean, Alabama is a standalone. You go to one of their practices and you go, oh my goodness. I mean, look at these guys. And all you have to do is look at draft data to know what I'm talking about and to back it up. But Florida State is close. I mean, they are a legitimate team. I think Jimbo Fisher is a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. He has one national championship. He blew the next season in Jameis Winston's final year. But this will be a respectable game. But Florida State is not winning this game.
Why are you so confident with Alabama, considering the fact that Jalen Hurts is such a question mark at the quarterback position? I know that he had a strong year until the last couple of weeks of the season or what have you, but I'm not sold on this guy, Paul. I'm just not. I'm sold on his athletic ability, his playmaking ability, no doubt about it, but I'm not sold on him as a passer. And now Lane Kiffin is gone as your offensive coordinator. Why should we be high on Alabama, particularly on the offensive side of the ball?
That's fair. No, listen, I think this is a downgrade going to Brian Daboll from Lane Kiffin. Daboll failed 3 times in the NFL as a coordinator. he was a tight ends coach for Bill Belichick. I won't say any more.
Right.
You have a sophisticated audience. But I think what Alabama's going to do, they need some sort of balance on offense. They have Bo Scarborough, who is deadly as a running back. They have a freshman. Nobody has even heard his name. His name is Najee Harris, who was the best running back in the country last year coming out of college. And I hear he's ready to play, although there's no place for him to start. So and they also have Calvin Ridley, who's one of the better wide receivers. So I just think they have to simplify it. You don't need Jalen Hurts running every time like they did last year, but a little bit down the field is all they need, Stephen. They don't need a lot from that end of the field.
What did you think about Florida's Coach McElwain suspending some of these players?
Well, first of all, I love it when people call them, so you got to give them a lot of credit. You don't have to give them any credit at all. It's a mandatory thing. If you're involved in a credit card fraud on your campus, you're not playing in a game while you're still investigating it. Because if you do play one of these guys, you may have to forfeit the game later. So I mean, it's a mess. They're now up to 10 players suspended. I don't think they need a 747 to take the team to Dallas tomorrow. Do you? With 10 guys off the team, they could get a prop jet and probably still make it. But I still don't know if Michigan is that great. I mean, Florida has lost 10 players, but Michigan has to replace 10 starters on defense, and that's why I still give Florida a chance to win this game, a pretty good chance, actually.
How do you feel about the job McElwain has done since, obviously, Urban Meyer used to be there and had tremendous success. They haven't been on the map to the degree that he had them on the map. How do you feel about the job McElwain has done at Florida?
I think he's done a credible job. I'll give you the stat you hear all the time. He's been to 2 SEC title games, but he's gotten blown out in both. He's lost to Florida State. He also lost to Michigan badly. So, I mean, this is a big game for him, and it's a big year for him because Florida fans are the first cousin of Alabama fans when it comes to expectations. I mean, they expect to get there every year. They're not like some of these fan bases that go 8-4 is a good season. They expect to be playing for an SEC championship and be in the college football playoff. And if he can't do that this year, then you're going to hear a lot of grumbling about him. By the way, another former Nick Saban assistant.
Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What do you think about, Jim Harbaugh and these boys having their own podcast and, they're going to be communicating, Jim and John and the Harbaugh family and all of that other stuff? What have been your thoughts about that, this being associated with college football, knowing college football the way that you do?
Well, first of all, I know I'll tick off our bosses here, but I've yet to figure out why everyone is fascinated with podcasts. I know you probably have to mention it 10 times an hour. Don't forget to listen to our podcast.
Actually, I refuse to. Listen. I refuse to mention that. I actually do. But go ahead, Paul.
I'm glad you do because I don't have the kind of juice you do, so I have to do it at the end of the show. I don't care. I'm not going to listen to it. If they want to do it, fine. But I think everyone in America has a podcast right now, and it'd be great to hear Jim Harbaugh with a personality, though. Maybe he'll show it on the podcast because he certainly hasn't shown it in 2 years of coaching at Michigan and the previous 5 or 6 years in San Francisco.
But I guess what I'm specifically asking, Paul, is that do you think this gives him some kind of advantage, per se, over other college football programs? What are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. Listen, everybody has to try to find an edge somewhere. It doesn't really bother me very much that he's doing it. I think it's more interesting when you think about what he's done the last 2 years. He took a team to Florida, to the IMG Academy to have spring practice, which was legal, by the way. And this year he took a team to Rome. And by the way, next year he's going to Normandy. And they can afford it, Stephen A. Michigan can afford to do it. Nobody else can, other than maybe Alabama, Penn State, and Ohio State. To me, that's a bigger issue.
Paul Finebaum, always appreciate you, buddy. Looking forward to watching some college football all weekend long. Before I let you go, who you got winning tonight? Ohio State, Indiana. I'm assuming that's Ohio State, right?
Yeah, I don't think. Listen, with all due respect to trying to crank this game up and make it interesting, it's not. I think it's going to be a blowout, and Ohio State after halftime will start getting ready for Oklahoma next Saturday.
What about Florida, Michigan?
I may be crazy here, but I still like Florida. by a field goal. I just think I just think Michigan's overrated. They shouldn't be in the top 10 or 11. They are only because of Jim Harbaugh.
What about Alabama, Florida State? You're picking Alabama, right?
Yeah, I think it's a 10-point game. I don't think it's a blowout. Primarily because I don't think you're going to see a lot of scoring. I think the first team to 20 is probably going to win this game. And Nick Saban he respects the other side of the ball. Derwin James of Florida State, the safety, may be one of the best 2 or 3 players in the country. Nick Saban's not going to take any chances on that.
What do you think USC is going to do this year?
I like them. Again, I'll spare you the hype on Darnold. I think everyone knows how good he is. I'm still questioning the coaching out there. Helton, to me, last year was awful at the beginning of the year and nearly got fired. They got it together. I don't know why it took them so long to realize that Sam Darnold was his best quarterback. But I still think, in spite of Helton, they have a legitimate shot at getting to the playoffs. So keep your eye on a game next week, though. Stanford comes to town. That's an early season game. Stanford played last week in Australia, wherever they played, in a game that nobody watched, and that should give them maybe a little bit of an edge, having an extra, having played 2 weeks ago and getting a little more under their belt.
Yeah, I might have to go to that game. I might have to check that out so I can see Donald in person. Let me see what he's got. Appreciate the time as always, Paul. Thanks so much, buddy. Talk to you soon.
It was my pleasure. Anytime, Stephen A.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Kick that music. Oh. 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 Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio right here with you. Let me tell you something. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, look, they're the gift that keeps on giving. Jerry Jones. This is Jerry Jones. Just reading from some notes here about Jerry Jones. Appears to have no problem with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell's decision to designate Harold Henderson as the arbitrator in the Ezekiel Elliott appeals hearing that's been taking place since Tuesday. Listen to this quote by Jerry Jones, who's basically implying that Henderson is neutral enough to fairly rule on Elliott's appeal. Quote, Harold is a really great friend of mine, Jones said. He was at my Hall of Fame party. And so you weren't at that party unless you were a good friend. I can promise you that. So then they asked him, is that a yes in terms of the neutral party? He says, I don't know. But he's a friend, and of course, that's the way it would be. He managed the NFL Management Council for maybe 15 years. I served on it. He's very competent, but the main thing is he's a guy that I admire a lot. Former policeman, former attorney. He comes through it the hard way, literally. So basically, I mean, this is like a Trump tweet, for crying out loud, okay? That's what this is. Because Jerry Jones is basically saying, look, he's my friend. This is what friends do for one another. He knows how much I need Ezekiel Elliott. He better cut the suspension down. This is interesting, man. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens. I'm telling you, man. I mean, the man just basically admitted he's my friend. That's why I'm going to get a reduction in the suspension at the very least. Watch. And he's probably right. Probably right. Fritz in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. Huge fan with my twin brother, Franz. We're first-time callers.
Thank you.
I'm just so concerned. Huge Giants fan. We have all these weapons. We got Beckham. We got Brandon Marshall. We got Ingram. We got even Sterling Shepard. But everybody keeps saying we have all these weapons, but what about the offensive line?
Your offensive line stinks. And you know how bad your offensive line is? You went out and got what you thought was somebody that would help upgrade it, and his last name is Fluker.
Flowers, don't laugh. Don't laugh. Why are you laughing? You're a Steelers fan deep down inside. Man.
I know. It ain't no deep down inside. It's right on the damn surface, too. I am a Steelers fan. No question about it. But what I'm saying...
But the Giants, are we the team to beat? Still with our banged-up offensive line. I mean, I do not trust Flowers. He was horrible last year. Like, just completely not good. What do you think?
Well, listen, your offensive line is going to stink, which means your running game is going to be suspect, and Eli's not going to be protected as much as you would like him to be protected. The flip side to it, however, is The receiving corps, particularly with the addition of Brandon Marshall, is going to be big time. And the defense is no joke either. So the combination of a defense along with a big-time passing game, combined with at least a 4-game suspension of Ezekiel Elliott, assuming it gets reduced from 6 to 4, should put you in position to win the NFC East. That's my response.
Okay, by week 16, what do you think our record would be?
I think you're going to be 11-5. I think Dallas will be 10-6.
But Ezekiel Elliott, just what you're saying with the suspensions and stuff like that, he's going to have a lot to prove. And you know what? You don't feed the beast. And he's going to have fresh legs. That's a whole month off. You just don't know.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I wish you luck. I wish the Giants luck. I certainly root for them more than I root for the Cowboys. But these are all legitimate questions that you have, Fritz, and that's just the way it's going to be. You're going to have to get over it. You're going to have to let the games play themselves out, and you're going to have to take advantage and see what you're ultimately able to do. You open the season against Dallas, then got Detroit, Philadelphia, Tampa, the Chargers, Denver, and Seattle. Rough first 6-7 weeks. Hour number 2 up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
I'm Jody Avirgan. Have you heard of Blue Apron? Well, now you have. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. The country's #1 fresh ingredient and recipe service, fresh, high-quality ingredients make the difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. Plus, it's affordable, easy, and full of surprises. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping. You will love how good it tastes and feels to create home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/30 for 30.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Here with you for the next hour or so over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. One of the things that I wanted to do, start off my hour number 2 with this subject, is the subject of this trade involving Kyrie Irving going to Boston in exchange for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, this European kid, first-round pick unprotected coming from the Brooklyn Nets, and, of course, now most recently a 2020 second-round pick. See, ladies and gentlemen, for me, one of the things that depressed me about last season, and it's the only thing that depressed me, you know, when I got on Kevin Durant about going to Golden State, it's not an insult to his skill set. It's a tribute to it. Kevin Durant is a guy that I consider to be a top 2 player in the world. I know a lot of people want to put Kawhi Leonard up in there, and there's nothing wrong with that because he accepts tough defensive assignments every single night. He's not like LeBron who picks and chooses spots in a game to embrace those defensive assignments. He goes out there and does it from, tip-off time to the end. Kawhi Leonard is that dude. But I've never seen a scorer in NBA history like Kevin Durant. I mean, the Iceman George Gervin is pretty close. He's special. Michael Jordan, different kind of scorer, but nevertheless prolific in every sense of the word. The heart of a lion to go with it. But Kevin Durant at 6'10", 6'11", with that 7'6" wingspan, with a handle and the ability to shoot the ball the way he can shoot a ball, I got to tell you something. Kevin Durant's special. I mean, this dude is on another level. In his own way, he's a freak of nature, just as formidable as LeBron, if not more so on the offensive end of the floor. Because LeBron can't shoot long range the way this kid can. And I say all of that to say, when I look at that, and Kevin Durant stacked the deck by going to Golden State, I was depressed. Last season was bad. I mean, it was a good season, don't get me wrong, and Russell Westbrook made it very special. And him and James Harden battling for MVP status was special. All of that's true. But we all knew what the outcome was going to be. We knew that it was going to be Golden State's world and everybody else was just living in it. I don't feel that way about this year. I think that if Isaiah Thomas comes back and he's healthy, whether it's 2 weeks or a month into the season, because I got news for you. This is one thing that I will say about LeBron. He does not deserve our critiques of him from November through mid-April. That's regular season. It means nothing. You know that the playoffs are going to come and that LeBron James is going to be there. You know he's going to see to it that his team gets there. This dude has been to 8 straight NBA Finals. He has extended beyond the point of critiques being valid about him during the regular season. Pay no attention to it. I don't give a damn if LeBron shows up and averages 15 points a game. He has transcended to the point where I don't think it's even fair to criticize him through the regular season. It means nothing. He's beyond that. He's so above that. But I'll tell you this much. With this trade and with these Cavaliers being legitimately 9 or 10 deep, with this roster that they have in place, even losing Kyrie Irving, there is no excuse for this team to walk into the finals like it's a foregone conclusion that it belongs to Golden State. You don't get away with that. You got the best player in the world, and you basically had 4 starters replace 1. Kyrie is gone, but you got Isaiah Thomas, you got Crowder, you got Derrick Rose, you got Jeff Green. You still got Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson. You still got Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. No excuses. No excuses. Get it done. You either win or you losing. But we ain't going to walk into this season talking about how much the deck is stacked for Golden State and how they can't be beat. If there's one team who should be able to compete with them and make that a question mark, it should be Cleveland. And I'll tell you another reason why. Remember when Kawhi Leonard went down because, what was it, Zsa Pachulia stuck out his feet and essentially low-bridged and enabled Kawhi Leonard to come down and twist his ankle, and Greg Popovich went off? What did Greg Popovich say? We're supposed to be playing against the best team in the world. We're up by 23. And I'm like, we're up by 23, and it's pretty cool. In other words, we got a chance to beat these guys. Well, if Greg Popovich can think that he can beat these guys with Kawhi Leonard and Mr. Missing in Action come playoff time, LaMarcus Aldridge for the most part, with Pau Gasol and an aging Tony Parker and Patty Mills, why can't LeBron legitimately stand up, firmly believing we can beat these guys? Why can't he? I don't want to hear it. No excuses. I'm looking forward to Golden State and Cleveland going up against one another again. I guarantee you this, Russell Westbrook ain't conceding nothing to the Golden State Warriors. He got Paul George now, still kept Steven Adams and Enes Kanter in Oklahoma City. Russell Westbrook ain't conceding anything. I know Popovich ain't conceding anything. If Melo somehow lucks up and ends up landing in Houston, Chris Paul and James Harden with him ain't conceded anything to Golden State. Why should LeBron and Cleveland be allowed to? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. This is it. And this is what I've been waiting for. I'm back looking forward to the NBA season again. Not the Knicks or the Nets. I'm not looking forward to them because they're both going to stink. Even though the Nets might improve because they were so god-awful yesterday. Can't say the same about the Knicks.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Stephen A. Smith Show, 15 minutes. Past hour number 2 back here. ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80. To the phones we go. 866-729-ESPN. Let's go to Jamal in Charlotte. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jamal?
Hey, man, I just had a question about the Falcons. I'm a huge Atlanta fan, man, and we starting off 0-3 in the preseason here. Do you think we're going to see a Super Bowl hangover?
You're a huge what? Who fan?
Atlanta Falcons fan.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so do you think that starting off 0-3 that's going to carry into the regular season? And
really? That's what you're asking me about? You called up here to ask me about a team because they're struggling in the preseason. That's what you did?
I just want to know, you think that it's going to carry into the season?
No. They're high powered.
You've been praising us.
As long as they're healthy. As long as they're healthy. Atlanta, to me, Atlanta's got to compete with Seattle and Green Bay, maybe Dallas, for NFC supremacy. That's how I view it. Okay. And I think Atlanta's the favorites to come out of the NFC.
I think so, too. From recent years, Matty Ice has been shown to be a little inconsistent, so hopefully he doesn't have two, he doesn't normally put two together.
I got you. Nah, I just think they're loaded. I think they're loaded at the running back spot. I think they're loaded at wide receiver. Matty Ice is no joke. He's looking for a new contract soon, too. I definitely think that he's going to have a big year. Let's see what Atlanta's defense does. It should be better than it was last year with some of the parts they're getting back. So we shall see. Appreciate the call, man. Nikolai in Beverly Hills, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Stephen A.?
Go ahead, man.
Yesterday I called about LeBron James, but you rudely interrupted me when I was trying to get my point across.
Stop right there. Stop right there. I can interrupt you anytime I want to. What's the name of the show?
You asked me that question yesterday.
That's
too.
right. All right. Now go ahead.
But okay, I want to talk about KD. KD, you said it's KD's era, but did we forget how he went down 2 years ago against that team that he just jumped on?
Right, and let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. What were you doing 2 years ago? Tell me what your life was like 2 years ago, real quick.
No, 2 seasons ago.
All right, tell me what your life was like. Tell me what your life was like 2 seasons ago.
Pretty much the same. Not much different.
Not much difference. Can you say the same about Kevin Durant? Was Kevin Durant a champion 2 years ago?
No, because who beat him? Klay Thompson beat him. He choked against OKC. But now you want to crown it his era?
I can say that because he is the reigning, defending champion who just finished averaging 35 a game in the NBA Finals. I'm not saying it's officially his era. I'm saying he's coming. You're going to have to deal with him.
He's coming because he has amazing teammates like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson.
Time out. Stop right there. Let me pause you. Kevin Durant didn't lose in the first round 2 years ago. He lost in the Western Conference Finals. So what I'm saying to you is when you pointed out, you act like he was missing the playoffs or going home early. The dude was in the Western Conference Finals. The dude is a career 26, 27-point per game scorer. The dude is a former league MVP. The dude has been to the finals twice. And now for the first time, he's learned how to win. Because he went to a team, he stacked the deck. I don't like it. I'm disgusted by it. I'm on the record. But it doesn't negate the fact that the brother is big time. You don't average 35 a game in the finals if you're not.
Yeah, but look, he had opportunities to go one-on-one just because of who his teammates were.
Oh, my God. You're talking emotion. You're talking emotion. Here's the reality. Your position, you don't even realize what you're saying. What you're saying is that it's not right that he's getting the credit because he's on a team where he stacked the deck. You're not denying that he's the man and they're the team to beat. You hate the fact as to why that is because of what he joined. But that doesn't negate the fact that it is what it is. You're going to have to run into the Golden State Warriors. And if you run into the Golden State Warriors, you're going to have to deal with him. And dealing with him Playing with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, he's still the one who averaged 35 on better than 50% shooting and better than 40 from three-point range. What you gonna do about that, Nikolai? You don't get to circumvent that. That's the reality. I hate it,
Tell me where that
but it's
was
the truth.
against. Tell me where that was against the Warriors when Klay Thompson lit them up in the third quarter of the sixth game.
Goodbye. You're an idiot. Bye. You don't want to listen. You don't want to listen. I don't have time for idiots. He wants to talk about 2 years ago. I'm telling you what's happening now. He's the reigning defending champion, averaging 35, and he's talking about, tell me where he was 2 years ago. Where's he at now? Right now. He's the reigning defending champion. Period. Gavin in Houston, you're live with Stephen A. What's up? I hope you're doing all right out there, Gavin.
Yes, sir. We're doing all right.
Go ahead, buddy.
Fortunately for me, I'm on the north side, so we didn't get too much of that flooding that they got down there. But first off, I just want to say thank you to J.J. Watt. Every time I check ESPN, I see that he's raising his goals. He started at $200K and he's past $10 million. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
He's done wonders for this city. But
yes, he has.
We need some positivity right now, Stephen A. I'm just curious, out of the Rockies and the Texans, you know, we both made some good additions this offseason. You know, Texans drafting Deshaun, Houston getting CP3 in the trade. I want to know which team out of the two do you think has the brighter future or is closer to a championship right now? Because we just need that positivity right now. We need something to look forward to.
I'm going to tell you it's the Texans, but neither of you are going to win a championship. The only reason I'm going to tell you it's the Texans is because it's football. And when you talk about parity, nothing's closer than the National Football League. So in that regards, I give the Texans the edge because they've got a big-time defense. J.J. Watt is returning. Jadeveon Clowney looks better and looks to be coming into his own. And you finally got a quarterback in Deshaun Watson, who I think in years to come is going to be special. But the reason why I say the Texans, even though they're not going to win the championship, is because in basketball, I don't know if Houston's going to be able to get Carmelo Anthony. I certainly know you ain't going to be able to beat the Warriors. And as a result, your chances are slim to none in that regard.
You don't think with an injury, even with CP and Harden, that we're close?
What do you mean with an injury?
Yeah, an injury to Golden State.
I don't ever take that into consideration. That's an idiotic question. What if LeBron James got hurt? What if Gordon Hayward got hurt? What if Russell Westbrook got hurt? Of course, injuries change everything. I make predictions based on health. In other words, assuming that the bodies are going to be there, what do you think you're going to do? You don't call up here to ask for a prediction and say, well, what if they get hurt? Well, of course, if they get hurt, things change. That's a given. Who doesn't know that? But you're supposed to ask about, all right, what if all the bodies are aligned? What if Chris Paul and James Harden are healthy? What if Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green are healthy? Anybody?
No, I would hope they're fully healthy because I'd like to beat them at full strength.
Well, I'm just saying the point is there's nothing to predict if people get hurt because then you're asking for people to get hurt. That's like me saying, all right, I hope LeBron gets hurt and I hope Gordon Hayward gets hurt and I hope Hassan Whiteside and everybody else get hurt so the Knicks can finally win. What kind of damn prediction is that? That don't mean anything.
Nah, I understand.
Bye. Have a good day. Ned in Chicago, you're live with Stephen A.
Stephen A.
Go ahead, man.
All right, I'm a big LeBron James fan. Actually, I'm a big diehard Cleveland fan all around. I want to wonder why LeBron is giving shout-outs. He gave shout-outs to Rose on Twitter, hooked it up, said 23-23 to Joe Hayden. Good luck in Pittsburgh. He didn't welcome any of the new peoples coming in. You know, what's your perspective?
I haven't had any perspective about it, in all honesty with you, Ned, because I haven't thought about it. I'm thinking that I would surmise that his hesitancy would be, you know, in giving the impression that he's welcoming these people on board as if he's happy that Kyrie has left. Because people might read into that, and as a result, they might use that as fodder to come after him. He did give a tweet out there about how he has nothing but respect for Kyrie and he appreciates the years that they had together. But clearly Kyrie wanted out. not just because of his money, because money did play a role in it, but also because he didn't want to be LeBron James' teammate any longer. And so I imagine that there's got to be some heightened level of sensitivity, whereas Derrick Rose came from the Knicks. That's just to welcome in your guy, Jeff Green. He came in free agency. That's just a guy that you know, and you're happy about that. And so you look at it from that standpoint, and that's not something that has anything to do with Kyrie's departure. And I imagine that's why he didn't say anything.
Respect.
All right?
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Major props and thanks to J.J. Watt. Initially was in pursuit of $200,000 for relief efforts in Houston. Went up to $500,000, then $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, $6 million, now up to $10 million. He's eclipsed that and continuing to move on and gain more funds to help the relief effort in Houston and its surrounding areas due to the tropical storm Harvey. Major props and congratulations to J.J. Watt. Major debt of gratitude to him. We can't say enough about him, to the Red Cross, and all those who've contributed to the relief fund, to the relief effort, rather, in Houston, for those in need in Houston. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. I'm definitely going to go online and make my contribution today. I hope all of you do the same. ESPN, Walt Disney's donated $1 million on behalf of ABC, ESPN, and others. And, of course, individually, people like myself and many, many others will make sure to make our donations. We hope that you do the same. Okay? Let's get back to the phones at 866-729-ESPN. By the way, kudos to Aaron Rodgers. Didn't have to, but spoke up on behalf of Colin Kaepernick, said he supports him and that if he hadn't taken his stance, he would have a job in the NFL. So clearly that's the reason he doesn't have an NFL job. A white superstar like Aaron Rodgers, if Tom Brady and others were to speak up, obviously it would bode well. They don't have to, but it certainly would go a long way. I'll leave it at that. Adam in Indiana, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
How you doing, Stephen A. Smith?
I'm all right. How you doing? Go ahead.
All right. Hey, about this Colin Kaepernick situation. Am I correct in saying that he opted out of his contract in San Francisco? So essentially he walked away from a job that he already had possessed. Well,
you could say that, but what he did was renegotiate and restructure his deal so he'd be able to walk away because the belief was that San Francisco was going to cut him anyway. And then once new GM John Lynch got the job, after Colin Kaepernick had walked away, John Lynch had confirmed that he was going to be cut anyway. So you're right about that. The problem is that prior to that, there was a renegotiation that took place where Colin Kaepernick essentially forfeited about $14.5 million of his money just so he would have the right to opt out of his deal. So not both, you're telling the truth, but so are they. They were going to let him go, but chances are he would have had an additional 12 to 14 million extra in his pocket had he not elected to restructure his deal so he'd be able to walk after last season.
I feel you. See, I didn't know all that information. And then he went to Seattle and talked to them behind closed doors, and they did nothing with him.
Well, they were interested in him, but they didn't necessarily need him. But they thought that he would be better suited somewhere else because he wanted to be a starter. He had an opportunity to do some things in Miami and Baltimore. But remember, the pigs on the socks, the Fidel Castro shirt, that hurt him in Miami because of that Cuban populace, which makes up about 34% of their population. And then in Baltimore, he was talking on Steve Bisciotti, along with, and who had gotten Ray Lewis involved, and then his girlfriend, who a lot of people believe has instigated everything with Colin Kaepernick, including the actual protest, sent out some tweet comparing Bisciotti and Ray Lewis to the Leonardo DiCaprio and Samuel L. Jackson characters in the movie Django, where one was a slave owner and one was a kept slave.
Right, yeah. Well, my whole thing at the end of the day is just this, that everybody else seems like is fighting for his job for him, that he deserves this. He deserves a job. I'm a Bears fan, and Lord knows I wish they would have picked him up well before Mike Glennon. All respect all professional athletes, no matter what, but at the end of the day, man, it's like everybody else is doing his dirty work for him, trying to fight for him and protest for him and everything else, and nobody hears from him. It just doesn't seem like he has the will and the want fight for his own job.
Well, he stated his position, so one would argue he doesn't have to say anything else. But where I will give you credit is this. He appears to want an NFL job, A. B, he modified his stance by saying he would no longer kneel for the national anthem. If he had never changed his position, then I would say he doesn't need to say a word. But since he has modified his position, I don't feel the need for everybody to come to his aid where he may not even share the same position that he once had before. So you might have a point there.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Stephen A.
Thank you. Take it easy. Alex in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., what's up, man?
Talk to me, man.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Kyrie Irving and just the whole LeBron James situation. You brought up Kevin Durant. I mean, on these points, I mean, I just got to say I totally agree with you. I mean, when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, I mean, just because of the caliber of a player that he is, I just didn't want to see him do that move. And I agree with you that it was a completely weak move. But I guess what my question is to you is it more of the fact that Kyrie Irving wants to be a superstar and kind of run his own show, or is part of it also not being with LeBron James? And I guess what I'm getting at is if we take a look at the Golden State Warriors, I mean, look at Andre Iguodala, for example. The man had a sacrifice of, I mean, he came off the bench before KD was on the team anyways, but you
got to remember, he was never Kyrie. He was never Kyrie. That's number one. He was never Kyrie. That's number one. Number two, being in Golden State made him look better because he was playing with shooters like Thompson and Steph Curry, who's the best shooting backcourt in NBA history. The other thing about it is this. Yeah, Kyrie didn't want to play with LeBron any longer, but we also got to remember Kyrie wants to get paid. Kyle Lowry, 3 years, $100 million contract extension. Steph Curry, $207 million. Chris Paul turns down $207 million. Russell Westbrook, $217 million extension on the table. And so when you look at these opportunities that are being made available to these guys outside of Steph Curry, none of them are champions. But Kyrie is. Fresh off of averaging 25 a game in the regular season, 27 in the finals, and fresh off of averaging 29 in the finals, where he ended up winning the championship. And so when you look at it from that perspective, how would you feel if somebody's getting $100 to $120 million more than you playing the same position but achieving less success? That's what I think that's about, too.
That's totally right. And, yeah, I definitely agree. And then, Stephen A., just one more question as a diehard Knicks fan. And I guess the season that it looks like all these teams are getting better or acquiring pieces and the Knicks aren't getting anything. I know that you're kind of on the mindset that Carmel's going to end up leaving the team eventually. But my question is, if he stays on the team, I mean, what do you do? He's not going to be tanking.
Well, he's not going to be tanking. Not at all. He's going to be trying to win, but at the same time, the Knicks are just not that impressive. What do you have? That's going to be him and Porzingis and what have you. I mean, you would like to believe they're going to make the playoffs, but you don't know. Milwaukee's going to come up. Miami is going to be there. You got Boston. You've got Cleveland. You got to pay attention to that. Toronto can't be ignored. That's 5 teams right there. That's 5 teams. Charlotte just got the Dwight Howard. They should be on a come up. Okay, you got that to consider. Atlanta is not somebody that you can sneeze at, even though I think they're going to have a down year. And so, if the New York Knicks do end up getting in, they'll end up getting in as a 7th or 8th seed, going up against Boston or Cleveland and going home in the first round. That's the best you can hope from the Knicks right now.
That's right. Thanks a lot for the call, Stephen A.
Thank you. Let's go to Mustafa in Vancouver. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mustafa? Talk to me.
Magic Johnson is he's done a phenomenal job so far in the short.
Yeah, I need you to roll up your window. We got too much wind, man. So you got to stand still or roll up your window or something. Go ahead.
What about now, buddy? Okay,
Go ahead.
Magic Johnson has done a phenomenal job with the Lakers, getting rid of Timothy Mozgov's huge contract, D'Angelo Russell trading him and replacing him with Lonzo Ball. He's done a great job. But with this tampering situation, my friend, I agree with the league, because if this is about Rob Pelinka communicating with Paul George's agent and not about Magic Johnson talking on Jimmy Kimmel, what good is the rule if you don't enforce it? You know what I mean?
Well, I agree with that, but here's the problem, Mustafa. Essentially, here's the problem. Now, if Pelinka was talking to Paul George, that's different. Pelinka talking to an agent. Agents call GMs every day? Every day. And so if all Pelinka is guilty of is talking to the agent of Paul George, That means essentially what you did was fine the Lakers $500,000 because Paul George's agent went into Indiana and said, I've spoken to the Lakers. That's where my client wants to go. Now, think about that for a second. GMs and agents talk every day. Every day. Your agent's job is to conduct business for you and to look ahead and examine potential opportunities. You trying to tell me that an agent shouldn't be allowed to talk to a GM?
Well, if that's what the league is saying, I don't know the exact rules surrounding this tampering rules and policies. I'm not clear on that, so you got me. But I believe you. If what you're saying is correct, which it is, then I agree 100%. But there must be other details that we don't know about because it doesn't make sense if they're just finding him the Lakers based on that. I mean, there has to be more that we don't know about.
Listen, I'll tell you what you don't. I'll tell you what more you don't know. You don't know what role Oklahoma City had to do with all of this because they're the ones that stand to benefit. If for some reason, let's say this, Mustafa, what if the league, through the independent law firm that investigated the matter, decided that it was best to eliminate the Lakers from being a possible destination for Paul George, like they did with Chris Paul? What if the league had done that? Think about that for a second. If the league had done something like that, just because an agent had talked to a player, how would you feel?
I'd feel upset, man. I mean, I agree 100% with you, man. There's not much I can say to dispute what you're saying. The news just came now, so I was just reading into it, and I completely get what you're saying. OKC has something to do with it as well.
Well, OKC because OKC stands to benefit. Because OKC, listen to this: if the Lakers somehow could not sign Paul George, then where's Paul George going to want to be at? If him and Russell Westbrook are knocking on the door of a berth to the NBA Finals, he'll stay right in Oklahoma City, which is what they'd want.
Okay.
So don't think they have nothing to do with this. I don't think so. I don't think they're innocent in all of this. I don't mind them. I don't have a problem with them for it. It's business. They want to keep their asset. But I'm sure they were hoping that the Lakers wouldn't be allowed to grab Paul George next offseason. I'm quite sure they thought like that.
Regarding this last question, what's the league's intention doing this?
To dissuade.
It doesn't make sense to me now.
Dissuade people from talking to one another. In other words, honor your contract, talk when you're free agents. Until then, be quiet, even though there's nothing about our business that practices that. I'm quite sure the NBA was on the phone with potential suitors before they did deals with TNT and ESPN and ABC ESPN. I'm quite sure they were. I'm quite sure we weren't the only people they had conversations with. It's business. I think it's ridiculous.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Back to the phones we go. John in Queens, talk to me. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's going on, Steve?
What's up? Go ahead, buddy.
First time, long time.
Thanks. Go ahead, man.
I want to talk about LeBron and KD. I think you're bugging as far as saying LeBron and them is going to walk through KD and them.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You ain't say walk through. My fault. You said challenge them. I don't think with them additions they could challenge them. I think with those additions, they were a better overall team. But as far as just having what it's going to take to beat Golden State, it's not there. Golden State has a machine. They have parts that fit with other parts. They have real components. Like, I don't think Cleveland has that with what they just brought in. They brought up good pieces, but that's not going to match up with. How are they going to defend Golden State?
Well, first of all, nobody can defend the Golden State. That's number one. Number two, what you can do is try to throw a multitude of bodies at them because quiet is kept. That's what Golden State does to you. Yes, Steph Curry is lethal. So is Klay Thompson. So is Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. But the biggest thing is the Deshaun Livingstons, the Andre Iguodalas of the world, and others, the Ian Clarks, for crying out loud. A bevy of bodies that can come in there and give you 10 to 15 to 18 minutes a night. And they throw fresh bodies at you and keep their arsenal fresh. Cleveland can do that better now than they could last year. That's all I'm saying.
No, I understand. I understand they can throw bodies at you. Milwaukee can throw bodies at you. That's long and athletic. That's not the point with Golden State. You know that, and I know that. The point with Golden State is they have lethal.
Well, here's your problem. Here's my problem with your analysis. You're acting like we're saying Golden State is going to lose. Golden State is still a favorite. I'm simply saying what gives you a better chance. You certainly don't have a chance with with minimal bodies. You got a better chance with multitude of capable bodies. It's just that principled position. That's it. But call me back tomorrow. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Steve in New York, you're live. What's up?
Hey, how's it going, Steven? Thanks for having me.
Go ahead, man.
I just wanted to ask you a quick question about where you think the Eagles stand in the NFC East, basically, like, considering the suspension to Ezekiel Elliott.
I think that the Giants, you talking about the Eagles?
Yeah.
I think the Eagles are third place. I think Carson Wentz improved upon last year. I don't know if him and Alshon Jeffrey, I thought the chemistry that he had with Jordan Matthews was better. I think getting Alshon Jeffrey in there with Torrey Smith helps, but I don't think that losing Jordan Matthews was a good deal. As a result of that, I think they'll have their good moments. I think they'll have their bad moments. I see the Eagles somewhere between 8 and 8, 9 and 7. On the outside looking in, third behind the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys in the division. Let's talk about that later. Michael in Larchmont, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
Real quick, Stephen A., love you, and love your show, and just full acknowledgement I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and we'll move on from that. My question to you is more as an NFL fan, dealing with the Jets. I'm here in New York, and Todd Bowles on the hot seat, and as they're looking at the draft next year with quarterbacks, do you think it makes sense to make a real run at Josh McDaniel from the Patriots to come in and try to clean up their organization?
The Jets organization? Why should Josh McDaniels be the guy assumed to do that? He had an opportunity in Denver. How did that work out?
Didn't work out well.
So why should, I'm saying why I have no problem with your vision in terms of giving somebody else an opportunity. I have a problem with you picking Josh McDaniel to be that guy. Why him?
I think he's had more time under Belichick.
There's plenty of people that have worked under Bill Belichick that haven't been nearly as successful. Why didn't you mention Romeo Crennel? Why did you mention Bill O'Brien? He'd leave Houston to have complete control in New York.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just, as a Cowboy fan looking in, who else do you think then? Who would you put in?
I don't know. I don't know right now. I really, really don't. Me personally, my man Louis Riddick, an NFL analyst right here for ESPN, I think would do an outstanding job as an executive in New York. But let's give McCagnon and Todd Bowles a chance and see what they do. Talk to y'all tomorrow, 22 hours from now. I got to get on out of here. Until then, peace and love.
That's